we are going to start with Jane Costello, who is joining us. Well, I'll let her say, but her dedication is to parent. Jane, we've got an incredible tennis theme on this panel also, and starting with 40 Love and continuing later on, but this one with a reunion from the past that's really wonderful. Jane is the author of 16 novels, 5 of which were written under the name Catherine Isaac. Her books have sold over 1 million copies in the UK, which is incredible, and have been translated into 26 languages. And she is joined by her editor, Cory Hunter, who is a senior editor at Zibby Publishing. So I'm going to add, so they are here already. I'm going to turn myself off and you can enjoy this conversation.
Hi.
Hi there. Hi.
Yeah. It's great to be here. I just want to say thank you to BuzzBooks for having us on this panel. I am really excited to talk about this very fun, sexy book. Just a little intro. 40 Love is the second book that we published with Jane, and I just have to say that she is an absolute dream to work with. This novel is another midlife rom-com. The first one just had such an amazing response from readers, women in their 40s who wrote online in their reviews. I finally feel seen. Finally, a book for us. I'm giving it to my mother, my sister, my best friend. And I bring that up because I think it's exactly that kind of response that speaks to what I love most about Jane's writing, which is, aside from her terrific sense of humor, she writes real, complex women that I see myself in, and still somehow manages to deliver a story that is 100% entertainment. So I love this book. I can pinpoint exactly the place on the page where I personally fell for each of Jane's main characters. And I think that's just experiencing that sensation is one of just the pure joys of reading and working in the romantic genre. Jane, without any spoilers, would you just briefly tell everybody what the book is about in your own words?
Absolutely. So yeah, it's about a 40-something single mom called Jules who lives next door to a tennis club, but has absolutely no intention of playing because she was put off playing sport for life when she was a teenager, as I think a lot of us were. And that's doubly the case when an old crush from her school days, Dr. Sam Delaney, is back in their hometown almost 3 decades after leaving. And he is displaying this killer forehand in direct view of her bedroom window. But when Jules' 19-year-old daughter goes backpacking around Europe, she is overcome with anxiety and in desperate need of some sort of distraction. So she rashly agrees to join an amateur women's tennis team who themselves are at the bottom of every league going. They're on the verge of total collapse. They're desperate for players. So the fact that she can't really play doesn't seem to matter. It's a book about tennis, obviously, but at its heart, if you're not into tennis at all, it doesn't matter because at its heart, it's a love story. It's also a book about sisterhood, friendship, finding unexpected sources of joy in midlife, and really just sort of celebrating a stunning second act.
Great, that's a lovely summary. Even if you're not into tennis, you can love this book, but I was inspired to pick up a racket after reading this. So I do want to talk a little bit more about the tennis. What was it that sparked the idea to bring tennis and romance together?
Well, I had never played tennis myself at all until about 5 years ago. And I mean, this is where the sort of similarities between myself and Jules, the main character, start and finish. But I moved into a house that was very close to a tennis court, and I'd walk past it and think, I'm going to give that a go one day. It was one of those things. Of course, my kids were getting a bit older now, and I went along to one of these lessons called Rusty Rackets. And just basically what started as something to do on a Sunday afternoon became an absolute obsession. I persuaded all of my friends to join. I took so many lessons and basically ended up joining a team myself. I now play competitively for their women's B team. We go to Spain every year to trade. And it's just being part of a team at this age. You know, I've not been part of a team since I was 14 years old. And it is absolutely joyous. It really is. It's just become one of the great joys of my life. So I just wanted the book to really sort of reflect my passion, not just for the sport, but just, you know, being the friendships that are forged and just the immense fun that we have, really. And hopefully every page of the book sort of reflects that.
Can you give like, say you live around the corner from a tennis club yourself, and the character Jules lives across the street from one in the book. And you've told me a story that I would love for you to share here about the 90-year-old woman who is on the Rescue Rackets team that you joined. The layers of the female friendship is such like a lovely layer of the storytelling here.
Yeah, it was, well, one of the things that I found so inspiring. It wasn't just that it was the chance to play. You know, we don't play as adults in the same way that we did when we were kids, you know, and this became this chance to play. And I just loved it for that reason. But one of the other things that I just adored from the very beginning was that there were women in this group playing. I mean, there's a woman who played in competitive tennis for our team who is 81 years old. And she runs across this court like a gazelle. She is amazing. I don't know. It's just, but even sort of some of the women who aren't quite as, you know, sporty as she is, you know, they've got these amazing racket skills. And I think it was just being surrounded by really inspiring women of all ages. You know, there are teenagers in the team. There are 80-something-year-olds in the team. There's a lot of us, you know, in midlife. And yeah, it's just, and like I say, I just find the whole thing absolutely joyous. I really do.
Yeah, the female friendships in this book are really a bonus, I think.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the romance. Let's
Okay.
not forget the romance. I think this is it's your steamiest book yet, I think. And there are just some incredible, I think, filmic, just beautiful romantic sequences to enjoy. The tennis retreat in Spain, for instance, that's not giving anything away. And I think for me, it's just, there's something great about seeing the sexiness of a woman in her 40s on the page as well. What is it meaningful to you to write rom-com for women in midlife? And, or is there anything particularly challenging or different about that compared to your other books?
Well, I wrote rom-coms for years, you know, in the sort of traditional definition of a rom-com, which is girl meets boy, fall in love for the first time, you know, in various amusing and entertaining ways. And then I branched out and wrote a different type of book as under the pseudonym Catherine Isaac, and they were sort of more emotional love stories. But it was when I got to my late 40s. I mean, I love romantic comedy as a genre. I absolutely love it. I love the romance. I love any book that can make me laugh out loud. I am just sold completely. So I've always loved writing it. And I got to my late 40s and I just couldn't find exactly the book I wanted to read. You know, I couldn't find a lot of it with, you know, where they were where the main protagonist was my age. So I decided, right, I've got to write this. And actually, far from being challenging, I mean, obviously every book is challenging in its own way to write, but I just loved it. I just loved writing these books from the moment, you know, from the word go. And I don't think I can say that about every book I've ever written. You know, I've written some books that have been incredibly challenging, but this is just so, I think because there's just so much material when you reach this age and, you know, and it's because it's not, certainly not enough anyway. I don't think we see women in midlife portrayed as sexy and, you know, in that romantic lead. And so I just loved it. I just loved being able to write into that, you know, into that mold, really.
It's so great to read. I mean, life is not over in 40. You're in your 40s, right? So it's, I think, fantastic to see a character discovering herself anew starting a new chapter. It's not all over, and enjoying herself romantically too. All right, I think we have time for just a quick question. Every book is so different. I know what I got from reading this book and what I will carry with me, but I always think it's interesting to hear from the writer what you were hoping that your readers would take away from this one.
Oh, well, the short answer is pure entertainment. I want readers to laugh in recognition and turn the last page feeling uplifted. All those, when I was reading the chat before, all those words, they want, readers want butterflies, and, you want a reader to fall in love with your main character and all those feels. That's what I really, really hope for. But specifically because this is a book with a protagonist who is in midlife, this can be a sort of challenging time for many of us. We've got so many responsibilities, there's sandwich generation, there's menopause coming up, but it's also a time of great joy and with so much to celebrate. And I just really wanted to reflect that. But yeah, pure and butterflies. Yeah, somebody said butterflies. I couldn't hope for more than that.
I think you delivered. Thank you, Jane. Thanks for having us.
I'm going to jump in. That was fantastic, and I can testify that you have achieved all of that. And the book is really wonderful and inspiring.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.